Most Australians will probably end up working till 67, not because they planned it, and honestly, not because they want to. It just kind of happens. And here's the thing. It's not the people who made bad choices. It's not the people who went crazy with spending. It's the people who did everything right. Showed up, worked hard, paid the bills, built a life, and they still end up stuck. You might know that feeling, that quiet thing in the back of your head, especially on a Tuesday evening, driving home, tired, and this thought just creeps in. How much longer do I actually have to do this? You don't say it out loud, but it's there. And today I want to talk about why that feeling exists. Because the reason is not what most people think. And honestly, it's not what any bank, financial advisor, or government ad will ever tell you straight. 3 questions. Hold these in your mind as we go. Why do Australian households earning over $120,000 still feel broke every month? Why does every pay rise seem to vanish within 90 days? And what is the one thing, not income, not savings, not property, that actually decides whether you retire free or whether you just keep going? Stay with me, because by the end of this, something's going to click. Let me tell you about 2 people. First one, David, 52 years old, works in logistics management out in Western Sydney. Been doing it for about 23 years now. Earns just over $110,000 a year. On paper, David looks fine. He owns a home, while the bank owns most of it. 2 kids nearly done with school. Puts money into super every fortnight without fail. Doesn't gamble. Doesn't splash cash on fancy holidays. Doesn't make stupid decisions. He just lives. Pays the mortgage. Covers the bills. Tries to put a bit away when he can. But last year, David sat down with his wife. They looked at their accounts together, and he said something quietly that just kind of stopped everything. He said, "If I lost my job tomorrow, we'd be in trouble within 3 months." He's 52, 30-plus years of work, less than $40,000 in savings outside super. Now, meet Karen. She's 47, secondary school teacher in Melbourne. Belmanohol, decent super. She even bought an investment property back in 2009, which at the time felt like exactly the smart move. By most measures, Karen is ahead. But Karen hasn't slept properly in 4 months. Interest rates went up. Again, her repayments jumped. The rental income doesn't cover the loan anymore. And she's now doing private tutoring on weekends just to keep everything level. Karen doesn't feel ahead. Karen feels like she's running uphill, and the top keeps moving further away. Here's the thing about David and Karen. They're not failing. They're not reckless. They are genuinely the picture of what doing the right thing looks like in this country. And they're both trapped. So the question isn't what they did wrong. The question is, what is the trap? When most people feel this kind of pressure, the first thing they do is look for the obvious stuff. Not enough income, too much tax, cost of living, housing. And look, those things are real. I'm not dismissing them. But here's the thing. Those are symptoms. They're not the cause. The actual cause? It's quieter than that. And here's what makes it genuinely interesting. It actually grows with your income, not against it, which is why people who earn well still feel just as stuck as people who don't. There's a mechanism operating in the background of almost every working Australian's life. It's not a conspiracy. It's not the government. It's something the system around you is quietly built to encourage, step by step, decade by decade. I call it the commitment creep cycle. And once you see it, you will genuinely never look at a pay rise the same way again. Here's how it works. Think of your finances like a bathtub. Every fortnight, your paycheck flows in. And for a moment, it feels good. The tub is filling up. But the drains, there are dozens of them. The mortgage, groceries, electricity, car registration, school fees, insurance, council rates, streaming subscriptions, all 3 of them. The dentist, that repair that always shows up at the worst time. The holiday that wasn't extravagant. It was just necessary because you genuinely needed to breathe. And here's the part most people never stop to look at. Some of those drains aren't just expenses. They're commitments. They're not optional next month. They just happen, whether you're feeling financially confident or not. And every time your income went up over the years, your commitments quietly went up to match it. Not because you were reckless, not because you were stupid with money, but because that's just where rising income feels like it's for. The bank offers you a bigger loan because your salary went up. The car dealer shows you the upgrade. The real estate agent tells you what you can now afford. And slowly, without any single big dramatic decision, your financial life expands to fill whatever space your income creates. And then a little bit beyond it. That is the commitment creep cycle. That's the actual reason Australians who earn well still feel trapped. Not bad luck, not the government. The invisible, automatic expansion of locked-in obligations every time life gets a little better. And this is where it gets uncomfortable, because this is where most people over 45 make the most expensive mistake of their financial lives. When the pressure becomes undeniable, when the anxiety stops being background noise and starts actually disrupting sleep, the natural response is to add more work, chase the promotion, look at property, start something on the side. And sometimes those things help, but a lot of the time, they just add more commitment, more drains, more complexity without ever actually slowing the flow going out. The real move, and this is the part most financial content never says clearly, is to reduce what is irreversible before you add anything new, because your financial freedom is not about how much flows in. It's about how much has to flow out, no matter what happens. Think about David again. His income is solid, but his commitments? Near total. Between 85 and 92% of his take-home pay is already spoken for before he makes a single choice in any given month. That's not a savings problem. That's not a discipline problem. That's a structural problem. And the sneaky thing about structural problems? They feel completely normal, because everyone around you has built the exact same structure. Your neighbors, your workmates, your family, they're all running the same system. So it just feels like this is how it is. It isn't. It's just how it became. Now, here's the data part. And I want you to stay with this for a second, because this is where the picture becomes undeniable. The average Australian household in the 45 to 55 age bracket earns somewhere between $120,000 and $160,000 combined. That is, by global standards, a genuinely high income. Australia's median full-time wage is around $98,000. We are a well-paid country, and yet, ABS data shows that households in exactly that bracket carry some of the highest non-mortgage debt in the country. Credit cards, car loans, personal loans, buy now, pay later, that quietly became permanent. And their discretionary savings rate, the money going somewhere intentional, averages around 4 to 7% of income. 4 to 7% on a $130,000 household income. That's maybe $5,000 to $9,000 a year with an actual plan attached to it. The rest? Already gone before the month starts. David is not an exception. David is the average. And that's not a personal failure story. That is a national pattern, because the entire system around us, the advertising, the credit products, the property culture, the social idea of what a successful Australian life looks like, it was never designed to build your retirement. It was designed to build your consumption. Those are two very different things. And most people spend 30 years confusing one for the other. But none of that matters yet, until you understand what I'm about to show you. Because knowing the trap exists is only half of it. The other half is actually seeing the way out. Here's something that almost never gets said in financial content. And honestly, this is the thing that changes everything. The goal is not retirement. The goal is optionality. Most people spend their entire financial life aiming at one thing the day they can stop working. But that framing creates a real problem. Because when retirement is the destination, everything before it just feels like waiting. And while you're waiting, the commitment creep cycle keeps running. The shift that actually changes your trajectory is this. Stop measuring how close you are to stopping work. Start measuring how many months you could go without working and still be financially stable. That number, that's the real measure of freedom. And for most Australians over 45, if you're being honest, that number is probably 3 months, maybe less. So what does changing that actually look like? Practically, honestly, step 1, map your irreversible commitments. Not your expenses, your commitments. The obligations that will exist next month whether you choose them or not. Write them down. Add them up. Divide by your take-home pay. Whatever percentage, that is the inverse of your freedom. The higher it is, the more trapped you are. Most people find it somewhere between 70 and 90%, which means one disruption, a job loss, a health issue, anything, and you go from stable to fragile almost overnight. Step 2, treat your super differently. Most Australians in the 45 to 55 range have somewhere between $150,000 and $350,000 in super. That sounds solid, but stretched across a 25 to 30-year retirement accounting for inflation, it covers a lot less than it sounds. And here's the bit: most people don't realize the compounding curve on super bends sharply in the years before preservation age. The contributions you make between now and 60 are worth disproportionately more than contributions from a decade ago. Every year, you delay costs more than it looks on paper. Step 3, and this one creates resistance: stop adding. Start subtracting. Not your lifestyle, not your quality of life, your irreversible commitments. Every time you convert a locked-in obligation into something flexible, you widen the gap between income and what must go out. And that gap, even a small one, is where freedom actually gets built. Not in the income, in the gap. There's something I want to say directly to you here. You've worked hard for decades. You showed up, did the responsible thing, build a life that honestly, by any fair measure, is something to be proud of. And if you're being real with yourself, you probably already knew something was off. Maybe for years. That feeling on the Tuesday drive home, it's not new, is it? It's been there quietly, growing. And you've been pushing through it the way capable people do, working harder, staying longer, finding one more way to stay in control of something that slowly started to feel like it controls you. The trap isn't a reflection of your intelligence. It isn't a punishment for your choices. It's the default setting of a system that was built for your consumption, not your freedom. And the fact that you're here, still asking the question, still looking for a better way to think about this, that matters more than you probably realize. So 2 versions of the next 10 years. Be honest about which one feels familiar. Version 1, you keep the current structure. Commitments stay high. Savings stay low. Super grows, but not dramatically. You hit 60, run the numbers, and realize you need 4 more years. So you keep going. By 64, it works just, but you're tired. The work stopped feeling meaningful a while ago. In your early retirement years, which should have been your most energetic, get spent recovering from the last decade, instead of actually living the freedom you worked 40 years toward. Version 2, starting now, not perfectly, just deliberately, you begin reducing irreversible commitments. The lifestyle doesn't collapse. It just stops automatically expanding. The gap between income and obligation slowly widens. Super contributions go up even modestly. A buffer builds outside super with intention. And somewhere around 57 or 58, you look at the numbers and something has genuinely shifted. You still can work, but you don't have to. And that one word, have, is the entire difference between a life you're managing and a life you're actually living. The trap keeps Australians working forever, not because they're lazy, not because they're unintelligent, and not because the system is impossible to beat. It keeps them working because no one ever showed them the trap clearly. You can't step out of something you can't see. You're seeing it now. If this gave you a genuinely different way to think about where your money actually goes, subscribe to Aussie Finance with Buffet. Not for motivation, not for hype, for the honest, clear picture that most financial content is too polished to give you. In the next video, it covers the one super decision most Australians over 50 make completely backwards. Not because they're careless, because no one explained the compounding maths simply enough. By the time most people realize it, it's already cost them years. You don't want to miss that one. Drop a comment below if David or Karen's story felt familiar, because you're probably further ahead than you think. You just needed to finally see the structure.